thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into season 4, episode 12. Criss Angel is a douche bag. Joy, do you want a fun fact about me?
Always.
I really like magic.
Me too. I love magic.
I always want to know how all the tricks work. And like when I was little, I
Yeah.
had one of those. Actually, I don't know if it was me that had it or a friend that had it, but one of those kits where you get like a magic wand and you get like some cards and you get like all the kind of starter kit thing.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
I don't have the patience for things like that, but I love to watch other people do it. And I love the idea of it. But I know myself well enough to know that I don't have the discipline that it would take to sit down and actually learn to do it properly. I am not that patient of a person.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do proper tricks.
It can do some sleight of hand stuff, which I think is really cool. And I find that really, really fun. I also love that like magic is basically like a con, but we're all happy with it because it's putting magic and wonder into the world for us, so we're thrilled. It's like the most lighthearted, well-meaning con ever, in my opinion, and I love it for that. And I also love that I know there's some actors who will study magic in order to do certain parts, and also if you're a magician, you're usually also like a pickpocket and like a lockpick and all of these other sort of like not necessarily nefarious skill sets, but like slightly left of the law-abiding stuff. And that's really fun. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
I spent all episode trying to figure out why I know Barry Bostwick. Do you know where I know Barry Bostwick from?
Is this Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Go on.
Rocky Horror.
Absolutely. Like, only like one of the main cast in Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I've watched so many times. And I kept, like, every single time I see this episode, I'm like, I feel like I know these guys. Where do I know them from?
They all looked familiar. They're like the three main ones.
Yeah, and I had to go and look them all up. Some of them I knew more than others, but the two that really stick out for me were Barry Bostwick.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays Young Jay, I'd seen him in other stuff. He has a very striking face.
Wait, do you mean like Young Charlie?
Yeah, sorry, I do. I do mean Young Charlie. It's been a long day. I got up very early today. So also sidebar, guys, we spent so long trying to do the intro for this episode. We do it every week, and today we got the giggles.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit flustered. I just call my breath back. So Young Charlie, who's played by Michael Weston, I was like racking my brains. Where do I know him from? And it's because he played a detective on House, which I used to watch religiously. And I was like, oh my god, that's where I know you from.
Yeah, I thought the same thing because he looks really familiar, but I thought it was, you know, when you look through IMDb and you're like, oh, it's going to be something really glaringly obvious, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I have watched House, but I don't remember him in it, I don't think. I don't know what I remember him for, but I definitely remember him as well.
Yeah, he was in a lot in the 2000s. So it can be hard to narrow it down, but I'm pretty sure that's where I'm thinking of him from because I actually can remember that character. I think I've seen him in more than just that. He's a great actor. But that's what really stuck out to me. So I was like, yes, I figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to hear something that I found really interesting when I was looking up stuff about this episode?
Yeah.
Okay. So it turns out, according to Supernatural Wiki, our best friend, it turns out that several of the magicians in this episode seem to be named kind of like homages to real life magicians. So particularly performers who are well known in the field of magic, but not necessarily to the general public. So Jay likely refers to Jay Marshall, an author, performer, historian, and founder of Magic Inc. Vernon probably refers to Di Vernon, who was one of the most notable close-up magicians of the 20th century. And Charlie most likely refers to Charlie Miller, who is considered one of the best performers for pure sleight of hand.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I like that they have named them after like real magicians. That's quite cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. Because also I feel like in magic, if you're not a magician and you're not studying and you're just like a member of the public, you're probably only going to really know like the really, really big names.
Yeah.
And some of the tricks that we know and love were developed by people who are lesser known. So I think it's really cool to get into this kind of nitty gritty, almost nerdy side of magic and go down deep. That's really fun.
Yeah. It's cool. I'd wondered why they mentioned Criss Angel in the title, because I'm assuming Jeb is supposed to be kind of
Yeah.
based off him a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
Because he's that kind of, well, yeah, douchey. But I did also find a fun fact about the title, about why the episode might have been called what it was, which is Criss Angel is a
Yeah.
douche bag. And this was on Supernatural Wiki on fandom as well, and it says the title refers to the Kevin and Bean morning show from Los Angeles radio station KROQ, who frequently joked about Criss Angel during the time this episode was released. And because Sarah Gamble was living there at the time, she probably got the title from listening to that show.
That's really funny.
So yeah, I don't know why they were joking about Criss Angel all the time, but
okay, I can actually help you out with some context clues. Because I was like, I remember this being a thing, but I cannot remember why. And I kind of remember that he was like the Zach Bagans of magicians.
He literally, like, that Jeb is like a cross between the
like
two.
A twin.
he's like exactly cross between Criss Angel and Zach Bagans.
So I have included some pictures in my show notes for visual references so that you guys can see like how absolutely similar, especially for people who are younger and are going to not be familiar, because this was during my era of time, but I literally like had no memory. I was like, wait, what? Who? Oh yeah, that guy. So if you need a refresh, or if you're a baby, a tiny little baby, and you were not alive and you have no idea what we're talking about, go and check out my show notes and it will give you context. But basically, I think what's happening here is there's a whole cultural moment with him where it peaked on that radio show, but he was really, really doing well for himself. But he had kind of a reputation for being kind of douchey because he would make these declarations. Like he would be like, I'm going to go to X location and I'm going to make X amount of money. And it was a lot. He was bragging about like how much money he was going to make from different shows. And like, in fairness, he did pull it off. So like, you can't say that he didn't pull it off. So he's actually referred to as one of the most successful illusionists. He has generated in excess of 150 million in tourism revenue for Las Vegas in 1 year.
Wow.
So like, he is very successful.
Yeah. I do remember hearing about him. I knew about him. But obviously I wouldn't have known about this radio show.
He became kind of a cultural phenomenon. And I think he was everybody's favorite like edgelord of magic, for lack of a better word, like somebody who really wants to be cool and to like show themselves as like this cool edgy character, right? And it just would rub people the wrong way, I think, sometimes. And I also think when you're really successful, there's always going to be people who want to tear you down. But he didn't have always a personality that people found super palatable.
And
so
he was proper like emo kid as well at the time, wasn't he? Like looking.
Yeah. Yeah. So while he was one of the most watched magicians in internet history since the late 2000s, his clip Walk on Water had received more than 39 million views by 2010 and more than 46 million by 2013. By 2013, his videos had achieved more than 200 million views. And his Rip Bodies Apart clip, which was taken from the episode of Believe, had more than 12 million views in a single month.
Huh.
So like the man is moving. Also, what I find hilarious is he was in like an emo-y, not super emo, but like a metal band. Okay. And the name of the album that he released in 2003 is Supernatural.
Cool.
Fun times. But basically people just thought he was cocky. They thought he was arrogant. They thought that he had showmanship above and over technique. So his performances were kind of seen as like overly theatrical. So when the old boys make that like comment about it being about him shaking his ass on the stage as the misdirection instead of a proper misdirection. That's very much like that kind of thing. I think some people were also offended because there was a point where he tried to reanimate a human corpse as part of his shows.
Yeah.
And I think some people were like, really? Why? What are you doing?
Has he not read Frankenstein?
A lot of references were made to Frankenstein, actually.
Doesn't go well.
It doesn't always end very well. But yeah, basically that is why it became kind of popular to refer to him like that.
Cool. Yeah, so it was like the butt of a lot of jokes at the time. Topical.
Yeah, very topical.
Satire.
Like, yeah, for sure. So he was at the height of success and popularity and had a very strong personality, and people took it one way or another way, I think.
Yeah. Did Criss Angel ever like publicly say anything about this episode title, or just in general when people were making jokes about him, like the radio show?
So as far as I know, he never replied to it. And like I did have a little bit of a dig in to see if he ever had anything to say about any of it, and I can't find anything on the record. I also found one of his exes said that he was like a very problematic partner, to say the least, and cites all these different instances. And it was published in Entertainment Weekly. And at the end of the article, it says that they reached out to him for comment and his representation, and there's no comment. That was years and years and years ago. Yeah. So, like, it seems to be that his policy is to just not engage with negative press.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. So, another fun fact that I have for you. Do you know about the Bleecker Street reference?
I don't think so.
Okay, so when Charlie and Vernon tell Dean to find the chief, eyebrow wiggle, they told him to go to Bleecker Street, and in Marvel Comics, Bleecker Street is the same street of Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yeah.
So it's a comic book reference, which me being the resident comic book nerd had to bring to your attention. It's the law.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to give us the synopsis for this episode?
Yes. So this is season 4, episode 12, Criss Angel is a Douche Bag. The original air date for this episode was January 22nd, 2009. Sam and Dean investigate a series of bizarre deaths linked to magicians who have gathered in a small town for a magic convention. They discover that a trio of aging magicians, Jay, Vernon and Charlie, are somehow tied to the murders, which seem to be mimicking magic tricks that Jay is performing on stage, such as the Table of Death, where a man was found with 10 stab wounds afterwards, and the Executioner, where another magician was found hanged in his hotel room. It turns out that Charlie has been performing powerful spells to make sure Jay escapes his acts and someone else dies in his place. It's also revealed that he has cast an immortality spell on himself and offers to do the same for his friends. But when Sam and Dean try to stop him and get into an almost fatal situation doing so, Jay chooses to save them by killing his friend.
Friend murder. So light. So happy a topic.
And then he's so sad at the end.
He's fucked up at the end. He's not even just. I know. I think he's really likable. Like, this actor is so likable.
Yeah.
It's a really shitty ending, to be honest with you. Like, it feels quite honest, but it's a really shitty ending. It's like somebody was like, you know what I hate? I hate it when in shows somebody actually sacrifices their friend, like kills a friend who's gone off the rails. And then the people are like, thank you so much for saving my life. And they're like, yeah, I'm so happy to murder my friend for you. And they decided that in their writing, that was not going to happen. They were like, sadness, depression, diabolical, just like absolutely leaving the watchers heart-wrenched. Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Supernatural writers, what are you going to do with him? What are you going to do with him?
So we open on a street and the magician is turning a heart-shaped balloon into a white dove. The camera pans up to a sign which says Iowa celebrates Magic Week, and then we cut to the inside of a bar where another magician is doing a card trick. and an older magician is at the bar. Oh, and this is where I put, did you recognise him? He's Brad from Rocky Horror.
I didn't. I did, but I couldn't figure out who he was for so long.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's a lot of, like, he's a lot older in this than in that, so
Yeah.
So he's doing a card trick for the bartender, and another guy is heckling him the whole time. And he's called Vance, and he's an arsehole. And
I'm happy that he died.
yeah, I don't like him. The woman he was with, which I think was like his assistant or something, they say later, or his producer, I can't remember. She keeps calling him out, but he continues. And then the bartender asks Jay to do a card trick, and he gets her to choose a card. And then Vance goes over and tells the bartender that her card is obviously going to be in Jay's pocket. And I was like, I don't get this, because he's trying to act like it's a rubbish trick that Jay's doing. But even it's in his pocket, that's still impressive, because how did he put it in his pocket? So I still think it's a good trick.
He's just an asshole. He's trying to make Jay feel washed up and old and shitty about himself, because he's a terrible person.
But he was also like
that, you know.
He was dressed like a really stereotypical magician with like a cape.
He really
and
was.
Like, it's like, look in the mirror, Vance, before you start like judging other people. So the bartender tells Vance he's being mean and says, "Can't you just leave the old guy alone?" And then Jay looks upset that she called him old. And I wrote, "Oh, poor old guy."
I think in his mind he thinks that it's all pity because he's an older guy, rather than actual interest, which is what he thought that she had. He thought he was making a friend, and then it turned out, from his point of view, because we know he's quite depressed, like he's in a really bad frame of mind in this episode, that he's truly thinking, oh, I've made a friend, and someone's interested and someone's paying attention to me, and then this other absolute jackass who deserves his murder, honestly, is just being a douche. And I don't think she necessarily was just pitying him because he's old. I don't think that's what was really going on, but it's her wording made him feel a type of way, which I can understand.
Yeah.
Especially with the frame of mind that we know that he's in this part. So like, it's very sad, and I really just wanted to punch this dude in the face.
Same. He wasn't very nice. Didn't like him.
Yeah. Also, the music is "I Am the Douche Bag" by Christopher Leonards and Steve Fragadakis. That's what's playing. It's "I Am the Douche Bag."
What, in the bar?
In the theater when we cut to the next scene.
Oh.
That's what's playing.
When Jeb is being lowered, like he's being lowered down from the ceiling or whatever.
Yeah. And I that took me out, because I didn't know that before, but I found it in the trivia, and then it also says it in the transcript. I had no idea, but it is amazing because this dude is being such a douche.
Yeah.
So it tracks. It made me happy.
Yeah, so they're all the like older magicians are watching him, aren't they? And they're talking about the new guy, and they're calling him a douchebag. I think it's Vernon. Vernon keeps calling everyone douchebags.
Yeah. Charlie's like, is he wearing eyeliner? And Vernon says, I can't tell. I'm blinded by all the sterling silver. And then Jeb starts screaming, the light has to find me. Get it? It has to find me, being like a full-on prima donna. And then the stage assistant is like, oh, let's take it back. And Charlie's like, what a douchebag. And Jay says, would you give it a rest? You're giving me a headache. And Vernon says, oh, come on, Jay. His misdirect is shaking his ass like an 8th Avenue hooker, which obviously has not aged well as a line.
No.
But we understand what he means to say. And then Charlie rants, it used to be about skill. And Jay says, yeah, used to be. Listen to the two of you. It's pathetic. Bitter old men talking about the glory days. You know what? This douchebag isn't a joke. We are. And Charlie says, hey, who are you calling a joke? And Jay says, me, for one. And then in the background, Jeb's act is back on. And Jay's saying, that used to be us. And Jay says, you know, maybe he is a douchebag, but he's playing the main stage and we can't even afford an assistant. What the hell are we doing? And then the other guys try to make him feel better and cheer him up. And Jay comes back in and says, no, we're not. We're sad, we're old, and we're dying.
Oh, Jay.
And then he says, I'm going to do the table of death tonight. And Vernon's like, no, don't be crazy. And Charlie's like, you almost killed yourself the last time you tried it, and that was 30 years ago. And Jay says, oh, who cares if it kills me? At least I'll go out with a headline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's really sad because then we find out later that he was actually planning to not
just die.
Survive. Yeah. So yeah, he's really in a
sad.
bad space.
Yeah.
So then later that night when Jay is on stage, he's performing the Table of Death. He gets an audience member to check his bindings are tight, and Charlie is also, he's on us like strapping him to
he's the charming young assistant.
Yeah.
In the skimpy outfit.
But he seems concerned and asks if Jay is sure he'll be able to slip them, but Jay isn't planning to slip them. And then the Table of Death, so this is like a table, he's tied to it, and there's swords hanging above. There's like a sword situation going on above that's going to be dropped.
Sword situation.
And so the magician is supposed to get out before that happens. And Charlie closes a curtain all the way around him. But there's lights, it's set up so you can see his kind of silhouette through the curtain. And then his other friend, Vernon, crosses himself, praying for Jay to get out, and they both look really worried. And then as the trick takes place, Vance steps out into the street from his hotel, and as the swords fall, he clutches his chest and falls to the ground. We cut back to the theatre and see Jay has escaped, and he takes a bow. He looks confused about how he got out, to be honest. And then we see Vance dead in the street, and several blood patches appear through his shirt as if he's been stabbed by a whole load of swords.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the whole opening section. That's quite long today.
Yeah, it is. It's true. So then we cut to the street, and it's daytime, and Jeb Dexter is doing card tricks for an audience outside. And he says, this isn't a trick, okay? I don't do tricks. This is a demonstration. And
okay.
Yeah. And Jeb says about demons and angels. And Dean and Sam, who are wearing suits like they're Feds, kind of walk up in the background. And Jeb's saying love and lust. And Dean says, what a douchebag.
But Sam starts fangirling again because he knows who he is.
Yeah. And then we see, like, there's camera people, there's mic people. He's surrounded by all this paraphernalia and whatnot. And Jeb says, all the stuff that's mixed up in my head. And Sam says, that's Jeb Dexter. He's such a golden retriever, honestly. So then Dean says, I don't even want to know how you know that. And Sam says, he's famous, kind of. And Jeb says, but no matter what happens, no matter how. And Dean interrupts, like it cuts across. And Dean's saying, for what? Douchebaggery? And then we come back to Jeb, and Jeb saying, messed up it gets. Don't touch me, okay? He says, for your own safety. And then he inhales, and he exhales, and he's shaking his head. And then he imitates something like having a seizure or being possessed. Like, it's like a faux seizure to indicate possession, isn't it?
Yeah.
And with one hand, he grabs for the cards in his other hand and scatters them, flinging them in the direction of the window behind him. And he screams, go back to hell, demon! And the card that sticks in the window is the Ace of Diamonds, and it's like it's fused inside the glass. Jeb drags his hands over the card to show that it's on the far side of the glass, and he says, is this your card? And there's applause. And Dean says, you've gotta be kidding me. A fake demon possession? And Dean basically like just walks off in disgust.
Well, yeah, the demon possession stuff is stupid, but the card being on the inside of the glass, well, I thought it was quite cool.
It is really cool. I remember seeing that trick done by a bunch of different magicians, and like my mind is still boggled. I don't understand how it's done. It's very cool.
No.
And Dean is having a rant when we come back in. Dean's like, I can't believe people actually fall for that crap. And Sam's like, it's not all crap. And Dean says, what part of that was not a steaming pile of BS? And Sam says, okay, that was crap, but that's not all magicians. Sam's like, not all magicians.
Not all magicians.
Not all magicians. He says it takes skill. And Dean says, oh, right. I forgot. You were actually into this stuff, weren't you? In the tone of a big brother who's about to torture a little brother about something embarrassing. And Dean says, I mean, you had like a deck of cards and a wand. And Sam's like, dude, I was 13. It was a phase.
Oh, little
And I was
magic
like,
Sam.
that is so cute. Can you imagine like Sam Winchester, 13, all tall and gangly, with a little wand and a deck of cards trying to learn to do magic tricks?
Aw.
That's adorable. I cannot. So Dean says that it bugs him because they're playing at demons and magic and the real thing will kill you bloody. And Sam says, like a guy who drops dead of 10 stab wounds without a single tear in his shirt. And Dean's like, that's what I'm talking about. So we cut back to Vance's hotel room. And his assistant is tossing a bunch of metal rings into this mostly packed trunk. And this scene is so funny. Okay.
The handkerchiefs was funny.
Yeah, that's my
Dean's
favorite
face.
part of this scene. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So Dean says, so did your boss have any enemies that you know of? And the assistant is like, Vance had plenty of enemies.
Yeah,
It's
because
like, yeah, 'cause he was a
horrible.
douchebag. So she leans down and grabs the end of one of those tied together handkerchiefs that they use in magic tricks that are like super duper super ridiculously long. And she starts trying to pack it. So she's pulling it out piece at a time, right? And Sam's saying, how so? And she's saying he would steal from other magicians all the time. And Sam says, what would he steal? And she says, stage effects, close up techniques, anything he could get his hands on. Dean says, is that enough to get him killed? And the assistant says, these guys take this stuff pretty seriously. And then she moves a cloth off something and there's a white rabbit underneath it. And she says, there you are. And like the whole thing is like a little series of like magic tricks. She bends down and picks up the rabbit. And Dean says, did you find anything weird in Vance's stuff? Well, weirder. And she says, matter of fact, I did. And she puts the bunny down into this bag and pulls out a Rider-Waite tarot card, which is the 10 of Swords. Which is obviously the one where the man is lying down and he's stabbed in the back with the 10 swords. So Sam says, I'm guessing this didn't belong to Vance. And she says he hated card tricks, never wanted them around, let alone in his precious cape. Then she hands the cards over, and Sam looks at both sides of it, and it looks ordinary and normal. But like Dean's face while she's pulling on the handkerchiefs is amazing because it goes on for what feels like a really, really long time. And he's just like, how the fuck? It's so funny.
Yeah, I did enjoy that bit as well. I enjoyed seeing a tarot card too. Like it when they have tarot cards.
I really like the inclusion of tarot cards in this episode. It was really, really cool.
The last one I have questions about, but the other two make sense.
Yeah.
So we are now at Jay's hotel room. There's a knock at the door and Jay answers it. And it's his friend Charlie who asks how he did the trick. And this is where I was starting to talk in my notes about the writing for this episode being quite good because it's set up to make us think that Jay is the one that's like killing people for his own benefit. And we don't really suspect Charlie until later on.
Yeah. So Charlie's asking him how he did it. And this is a good red herring for us because obviously we know that Charlie knows exactly how this is being done. But Charlie is like, how did you do it? And Jay's like, do what? And he's like, you know what? And Jay then says, the great ones never give away the how, all dramatically. And Charlie's like, yesterday you were sad, old, and dying, and today you're one of the great ones. Come on, this is me you're talking to. And Jay's like, you didn't think I could do it. And Charlie says, no, Jay, I didn't. You're my friend, my best friend. I just didn't want to see you get hurt. And Jay goes back to playing with the cards and he says, Charlie, do you want to see something? Look at this. And he cuts the deck several times and extracts 3 cards from it. And they're all aces. And Charlie says, not bad. And Jay says, not bad. I've been working to pull an ace out of the middle of the deck for years. Just one, and now I can pull 3. Charlie says, still missing the ace of hearts. And then Jay says, I want to do the executioner tonight. And Charlie says, are you trying to get yourself killed? Jay says, it's just a rope slip. And Charlie says, Houdini wouldn't try the executioner. Jay says, exactly. Think about it, Charlie. If I can pull this off. Charlie says, I think you're pushing your luck. Jay says, it wasn't luck. It wasn't here. Stand over there. And then he moves Charlie to where he wants him. And he says, let's not end up like this, Charlie. A couple of old farts doing birthdays and bar mitzvahs. And Charlie says, it beats dying. And Jay says, does it? And Charlie says, I would do anything for you. You know that. But I will not watch you die. I'll miss that show. Jay says, no, you'll be there. You'll always be there for me. Check your pocket. And Charlie checks his coat pocket and his shirt pocket. And then the ace of hearts is in there. And he laughs and he says, that's good, Jay. That's pretty damn good. And Jay says, I can do it, Charlie. I want to do this.
Yeah. When he started talking about the executioner, and I, at this point, thought that Jay was the bad guy, obviously.
Yeah.
I'd written down, I bet he's putting the hanged man card in his friend's pocket.
Because
with the tarot cards, and obviously we do see the hanged man card later, but
we do.
But yeah, I thought that was, I was obviously onto something, but it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also I had fun fact, Joy.
What is
it? Jay, in this scene, Jay has blue eyes, but Charlie looks like he might have green ones.
Oh, for the love of God. Okay. That's one for the green-eyed conspiracy fans.
So, Jeb is on the phone at the theatre, and he's basically moaning that he isn't as famous as Criss Angel. They do name-check Criss Angel in this.
Yeah, they do.
He sits down and Charlie and Vernon are at the table next to him, and we also see Dean arrive in the background. The theatre, it's got like this cabaret style seating, hasn't it? So they're at tables.
Yeah.
And Dean sits with Charlie and Vernon and asks Vernon if he's Vernon Haskell. And Vernon asks who's asking. And Dean introduces himself as Federal Agent Ulrich. And that is another rock band pseudonym because that's a Metallica one, isn't it? Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
And he says he's looking into the death of Patrick Vance, and Jeb is filming an interview or something with Jay. I suppose it's part of the convention where the magicians are interviewing each other. And he keeps calling him Jim, though, and Vernon calls him a douche bag again. And Dean's like, couldn't agree more.
That's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, that's funny. And then Dean holds up the Ten of Swords tarot card and asks if it means anything to him. And Vernon's like, no. And Dean's like, well, I heard you use tarot cards in your act. And Vernon says that was a long time ago and he hasn't touched a deck in years. And Dean asks if he knows anyone that does use them now. And then Charlie and Vernon start winding Dean up. So they basically say they know this guy that Vance had some beef with. And they give him an address and a name, Chief. And he thanks them and leaves. And yeah, I was like, they're totally winding him up here, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, because we don't know that at first. We think they're giving him a genuine tip, and so does Dean.
Yeah, but it's how they're looking at each other. I'm like,
I didn't pick up on it.
They're up to something here.
When you rewatch it again, or if you're me and you're slow, I guess, when you rewatch it again, you can see. But I did not pick up on it. I was like, oh, he's gotten a tip. No. And then we go to Bleecker Street, and each turning that he takes, you think, I feel like something's off here. I feel like this is not where you're supposed to be, Dean. And basically, he walks along the street until he sees 426, which is like a neon sign. There's a chain link door that swings open, and there's this young dude who like eyes Dean up, and he says, "Hi, I'm here to see the chief." And the young dude raises his eyebrows, like, "On your head be it." And so he follows him downstairs, and I'm like, is this going to be, when I was first watching this episode, I was like, is this going to be some super dodgy place, and Dean's going to be here all on his own, and like Sam's not here to back him up, and what's going to happen to him? But it turns out it's like a sex club type of situation. So on the one side, you have this really loud rave going on, which I assume is full of leather daddies.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it gives that kind of vibe. There's graffiti everywhere. It's really loud music. It's just like, it's a scene. Okay. And then we see this huge man come out who is the chief. And he is dressed like one of the guys from the YMCA music video, The Village People. And he has like a leather whip with many, many different sides. I wouldn't say it's a cat of nine tails, but like it's just like one of the ones that's like there's a lot on it, and it's specifically for your pleasure, if you know what I'm saying. And he says, "You're really gonna get it tonight, big boy." And Dean's saying, "There's been a misunderstanding. I think I've been had." And the chief says, "Oh, you ain't been had until you've been had by the chief." And Dean goes, "Oh," is like, his face is like, "Oh God." And the chief says, "Oh, and before we get started, what's your safe word?" And Dean just looks like he's gonna die. Like he is
Dean's face.
hitting a brick. It's amazing.
Yeah. I thought Chief was hilarious.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. I love him.
Yeah.
I like it when gay culture is included and it's a joke, but it's not the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So that was nice for me. I think that part's hilarious. So then we come back to the motel room. It's nighttime and Sam's sitting. Can I just say, ultimate thirst trap of the episode is when Sam goes to get up and he's wearing the tie and the tie kind of like falls down. I have this whole thing about ties. He has these big broad shoulders and he's a large good-looking man in a suit and tie, okay? And there's this one scene where he's getting up from the laptop to answer the door and he just looks ridiculously hot. And that's like the ultimate thirst trap for me of this episode, which I was surprised by because I didn't think it would be a Sam thirst trap, but there it was. What are you going to do about it? So he gets up and he answers the door and there's Ruby. And he's like, "What are you doing here, Ruby?" And I'm like, "She's your girlfriend, you idiot." Ruby says, "I should be asking you the same thing." And then she just comes in and he says, "I'm working a job." And she's like, "The whole world's about to be engulfed in hellfire and you're in Magic Town, USA. And he laughs and he's like, "You got something against magic?" And she's like, "That would be almost funny if 34 seals hadn't been broken already." 34, Sam. That's over halfway. The angels are losing this war.
Lilith has been busy if she's already got 34.
Busy. That's over halfway. The angels are losing this war. Every day is one day closer. And if someone doesn't do something soon, and Sam's like, "That someone is me?" Ruby's like, "Who else would it be?" Sam says, "I don't know where those seals are. I don't know squat. So why don't you tell me where you'd like me to start?" And she says, "Well, you can quit dicking around here for one. Bigger fish, Sam. And if the seals are being broken, you might want to go after the one doing the breaking." And Sam says, "Lilith?" And Ruby says, "Cut the head off the snake. You're the only one who can stop her, Sam. So step up and kill the little bitch." Sam says, "Oh, I'm game. Believe me. It's not the psychic thing I got a problem with." And Ruby's like, "Yeah, I know what you got a problem with, but tough. It's the only way." And Sam's like, "No." And as an audience, we're like, "What?"
Yeah, well, I wondered if I'd missed something because I'm like, did they have an argument last time we saw Ruby? Because they're really angry with each other this whole scene.
Yeah.
But last time we saw her was when was with Anna, wasn't it? There was that episode. And I don't remember them all having a big falling out, apart from when they lost her knife.
Yeah. And that was fair, because she was like, "Bitches." What
So they must have had a little lovers' quarrel at some point.
A tiff. Yeah. Sam says no. And Ruby says, "You know, this would all be so much easier if you just admit to yourself that you like it. That feeling that it gives you." And Sam's like, "You don't know what you're talking about." And Ruby's like, "Oh, I don't, huh? Fine." She goes to leave. And she turns and she says, "It's simple. Lucifer rises, the apocalypse starts. You think you have demons on your hands now? People are going to die, Sam. Oceans of people. So you just let me know when you're ready." And then she leaves.
See, this was, I suppose she is a demon, but this was quite manipulative, this bit. She's trying to like guilt trip him and just being angry with him. So is it maybe because he's refusing to use his powers? That's why she's annoyed with him.
She's trying to get him to use his powers in a way that she thinks is most effective, that we as an audience don't yet know what it is.
Yeah.
But we know it's probably not great if Sam is like, "I don't feel like I should be doing this." And the angels are like, "What you're doing is really bad and you're a slut." And Sam's like, "Why don't you like me? I love you."
See, I do think this episode is a little bit of a turning point for me with how I see Ruby, because I can see now, like, she's definitely, I think she's got ulterior motives because she's really trying to push him to use his powers. So maybe Dean was right all along.
Yeah.
When I kept standing up for her before.
I still stand by what I said before. Because
yeah, same.
That's how I felt about her in those episodes. But I'm dumb, I feel like, a little bit. Because I didn't pick up, when I was first watching these episodes, I wasn't picking up on any of those vibes. I was just like, she has a goal and she told us what the goal is. And like, it's not to say that I didn't have any suspicions, right? I definitely had some suspicions about her. But I remember by the time you start to see more of this kind of behavior from her, I don't think I was picking up on it as much as maybe I should have been.
Yeah. I was just picking up on how angry they were with each other, and I'm like, but why? They were fine last time we saw them.
Yeah. I feel like I was gaslit by how pretty Genevieve is.
Like Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Same page. Same page. So we cut to the theater and it's nighttime and Sam's standing near this entrance and Dean comes up behind him and says, "Did you find anything interesting?" And Sam's like, "What? No, you?" Dean says, "Nothing I want to talk about or think about ever again." And I'm like, "Methinks the lady doth protest too much."
Yeah, I wonder what actually happened to the club.
Yeah.
He was away long enough for Sam to have a whole conversation with Ruby.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying. So Vernon and Charlie are standing together and they're having a conversation. And Vernon's saying he's crazy and you know it. And Charlie says he can do it. And Vernon's like, "Did you even try to talk him out of it?" And Charlie says, "Till I was blue in the face. But I tell you, Vernon, there was something in his eyes." And Vernon's like, "In his eyes? You're both nuts." I kind of love Vernon. Vernon's so sarcastic. So Dean and Sam walk up and Dean says, "The chief, huh?" And Charlie says, "What's the matter, chief? Not your type?" And Charlie smirks and Dean smirks back. And he says, "You know, I could have you both arrested for obstruction of justice." And Vernon's like, "How? You're not a Fed." And Charlie says, "We con people for a living, son. It takes more than a fake badge to get past us." And Dean laughs and so does Sam. And Dean's like, "You got us. Yeah, we're actually aspiring magicians." And Sam says, "Yeah, we came to the convention because we thought we could learn something." And Dean's like, "Yeah, get some ideas for our new show." And Vernon is like, "Ooh, what kind of show?" And Dean says, "Well, it's a," and Sam says, "It's a brother act." And Dean says, "Yeah, you know, with the rings and doves and rings." And you can just see that he's drowning. And it's so funny. It's so funny because usually Dean is so smooth on the con. And these guys are like, "You can't con a con man, son." And Dean just folds like wet paper. It's hilarious to me. So Charlie says, "You want to learn something? Stick around." And Jay says, "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to witness is a feat so daring, so dangerous, even the great Houdini dared not attempt it. I give to you the executioner." And then we cut to Jeb's hotel room and we see him posing in front of a mirror. And I mean, posing. He's the poseriest of all posers.
Yeah. Yes. So Jay is starting the executioner. So basically, he's dressed in a straitjacket with a noose around his neck, and he has to get out before he's hanged, basically. Mm. And Jeb is then actually hanged in his hotel room as the, what do you call it, an illusion, a trick, an act, whatever.
Yeah.
Takes place. And I thought the CGI rope was quite funny.
It was really funny.
It's like a snake.
It was like, "I'm sneaking. I'm a sneaky rope. I'm a sneaking along. I'm gonna do a murder." It reminded me of Fantasia. It was just like, I know it's not anthropomorphic, but it low key was because of the way that the CGI was.
It looked like it had a head, like the loose part was a head.
And like it was so happy. It was like, "I'm sneaky. I'm a sneaky murder rope. I'm a sneaky murder rope. I'm gonna do a murder." Honestly, that was the vibe.
That was exactly the vibe. Yeah, so that made me laugh, even though it was like not a funny scene. That made it funny to me.
Yeah, same here.
And then, so he dies, and as Jay appears at the end of the act, like safe, Dean is amazed and loving life, and Sam is confused, and he's like, "That's not humanly possible."
Oh, I love that part because Dean goes, "Oh, that was amazing. That was freaking amazing." And he's like a little kid and he's all lit
it's
up.
Like they've swapped.
Obviously a thirst trap. Yeah, exactly. Sam says that was not humanly possible because Sam, being smart Sam, Stanford Sam, is like, "I literally saw him die." And I understand that this is an illusion, but that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, this is not real. And that's also low-key kind of a thirst trap. Because when he's like, "That's not humanly possible," he's all like serious academic Sam.
Yeah. I just thought it was amusing how they'd kind of swapped because Dean thought magic was stupid earlier and now he loves it.
Yeah. It's anytime he's in like a creative entertainment environment, he thrives. He should have been in show business.
Yeah, definitely. So then back at the motel, Sam has been researching and says that Jay was a big deal in the 70s. And Dean says maybe he's trying to stage a comeback by using real magic. So Sam agrees and says it could be some kind of spell that works for death transference. And Dean asks how the tarot card fits into it. Did he mean the Ten of Swords here or the Hanged Man card? Because I haven't found that yet, but I was getting confused. Oh, okay.
And then I think they haven't found the card and they haven't found the body yet, but they know that probably it's happened again because they've just seen something that is fully impossible. So that was like the one where they're like, okay, it has to be some kind of magic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was in my head, I thought they were talking about the Hanged Man card, and I was like, how do you mean how it fits in? Like, it's literally the Hanged Man card.
Yeah. And Sam says that he doesn't know. And Dean says, man, I hope I die before I get old. The whole thing seems brutal, don't it? And Sam's like, you think we will? And Dean says, what? And Sam says, die before we get old. And Dean's like, haven't we both already?
That is true.
That's
multiple
my favorite.
times.
I'm calling it now. That's my favorite line.
They've both died at least twice.
Yeah. And Sam gets annoyed and says, you know what I mean, Dean. I mean, you think we'll still be chasing demons when we're 60? And he's like, nah, I think we'll be dead for good. What, you want to end up like Travis, huh? Or Gordon, maybe? And Sam says, there's Bobby. And Dean's like, oh yeah, there's a poster child for growing old gracefully. And I was like, hey.
Oi, Dean.
Hey, actually.
Yeah.
He
Leave
is
Bobby out of this.
Graceful and awesome and magical. And how dare you, sir?
Yeah, that was my reaction too.
Yeah, Sam says, maybe we'll be different, Dean. And Dean's like, what kind of Kool-Aid are you drinking, man? Sammy, it ends bloody or sad? That's just the life. Sam says, what if we could win? And Dean says, win? And Sam says, if there is a way we could just put an end to all of it. Dean's like, is there something going on that you're not telling me? And Sam says, no. And Dean says, Sammy. And that's adorable. And Sam says, no, look, I'm just saying, I just wish there was a way we could go after the source. That's all, cut the head off the snake. And Dean says,
I wonder whose idea that was, Sam. Was it your idea or was it your girlfriend's idea? Hey.
Yeah, I wonder. Dean says, well, the problem with the snake is that it has 1,000 heads. Evil bitches just keep piling up out of the Volkswagen. That was also pretty funny.
I liked that bit.
Like a clown car of demons.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
Yeah. Sam says, yeah, I guess you're right. And Dean says, why don't you go see if you can track down Jay? I'll see what I can dig up on this tarot card. Should we tell people what the tarot cards actually mean?
Well, they're not what they mean in this.
Yeah.
Not really, anyway. They are using the imagery in a literal way.
Yeah, it's true.
Because the Hanged Man isn't even hanging from the neck. He's hanging from his feet.
Yeah, it's a change of perspective.
Yeah, like seeing things from a different point of view. And sometimes it can be about
a sacrifice.
Yeah, and like having patience and things, waiting for things.
Yeah, gaining wisdom, but gaining wisdom kind of like Odin, gaining wisdom by sacrificing an eye. There's a almost a price to be paid. It's not in an ominous way, but just to say that there are no shortcuts to attaining the kind of information that you're after. Sometimes you have to just put in the work and the hard slog. And then the 10 of Swords is like, you have to surrender to a higher power sometimes because things are just so shit that in order for them to get better, you just gotta have to give up, low-key, and just let things be because you're not gonna solve it by yourself.
Yeah, the 10 of Swords is almost, some people say it's almost like what people think the death card is.
Yeah.
Like it's the end of something and basically can't get any worse. So, you've got to get back up and it'll get better sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are just using the pictures, aren't they?
They are just using the pictures.
Literally.
Death transference does have a history in medieval lore, which we've discussed before on the podcast, where I was talking about those puppets where they would try to transfer their death to an enemy instead of to the person that was dying. Or they'd have the person that was dying or unwell. They would do a fake funeral with the puppet in an attempt to fool the Grim Reaper into thinking that person had died and was buried so that the real person could continue to live on. So that kind of ideology does exist in medieval spellcraft.
Yeah.
Not as much in modern things. And this would definitely be like curses.
Yeah, and I suppose that means that the way they're using the tarot cards that would still work. Like they're just using it as a for the intention of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so from the perspective of folklore, it tracks, and they would be doing like a sympathetic magic spell where they're using the imagery to bring about a death transference instead
Yeah.
of using poppets. They're using the cards as the tag luck, which is interesting. But it's like it's sometimes I'll watch their witchcraft stuff and I'm just like, absolutely not. This is stupid. So it pleases me that for the magic episode, which I know magic illusion is stuff and actual witchcraft are usually different. In this episode, they're kind of joined, and they got it right pretty much. Like it's passable for sure.
Yeah. Right, in this next scene, Joe, we have to talk about this poster. So
yeah,
we cut to Jeff's hotel and we see his poster, and then a body bag being taken outside, which has obviously got him in it. But his poster, I've described it as very early Photoshop crossed with Windows Word art.
It's giving me MySpace vibes.
Yeah, and he's in a pose like Jesus on the cross, and he's got lightning coming out of his hands.
yeah. But really bad, like CGI type, silly looking lightning.
Yeah,
like very 2000s.
Definitely. So Dean is already there, and Sam comes in, and Dean tells him Jeb was found dead, and the police think it was a suicide. Dean says he begs to differ, and then gets the hanged man card out. I was like, I knew this was going to show up. So this is where they work out the meaning of the tarot cards and how they're being used in the spells. And they realise that both of the victims so far had some sort of beef with Jay the day that they died. So now they're suspicious of Jay, and they say that they should talk to him. And this whole bit of conversation was funny because Dean says, any luck tailing him? And Sam says, he slipped me. And Dean says, he's a 60-year-old. And Sam says, he's a magician.
He's a magician. I love that line. That's got to be my second favorite line.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I love it so much.
We do actually get a bit of comedy now for it because there's a lot of this episode has got some really sad parts and like sad themes, and like Jay's really depressed.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dean have had a bit of a morbid conversation earlier.
Yeah.
But there is this next scene I think is quite funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. So they follow Jay and they try to they follow him into his hotel room. They actually kick the door down, which I was so excited for. And they have their guns drawn. And Jay's like, oh God, who are you? What do you want? And Dean's telling him to put his hands up and to get up against the wall. And Sam says, we know what you've been up to, all ominous, angry Sam. And Dean says, you've been working some real bad mojo to jumpstart your act. And Jay's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And Sam says, look, we know you put a spell on those tarot cards. And Dean's like messing with real magic. And they're acting like cops, like in the cop drama when you catch the bad guy and they give you a laundry list of all the bad things the bad guy's done for no apparent reason. And it's just dramatic. It's literally like that, but it's like the supernatural version of that. It's a little bit cheesy and a little bit silly. And I was laughing the whole time. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be laughing at this, but I feel like I am. Like, I think it's supposed to be silly. And Jay's like, real magic? Come on, there's no such thing as real magic. And Dean's like, oh, is that so? And Jay says, yeah, believe me, I've been around this stuff my whole life. It's all just, it's illusions, it's tricks, it's all fake.
He does look genuinely confused too as well when they're like accusing him of being a murderer.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
So Dean says, Jeb Dexter strung up. Was that just an illusion? And Jay's like, what? Something happened to Jeb? And Sam says he was found hanged in his room right after you slipped the noose last night. And Jay's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Please, just let me go. And Dean turns around and has a little aside with Sam and is like, something's not right. And Sam's like, usually they're whipping some badass hoodoo at us by now. So we go back and they've tied Jay to a chair. And in their defense, they've really, really tied him to this chair. There is so much rope covering his entire torso. Okay. And Dean's like, what do we do? And Sam's like, if it's not him, who is it? And Dean's like, even if Jay's not working the magic, he's still getting the reward. His shows are selling out. And Sam's like, right. So then whoever it is, they're obviously in Jay's corner. And Dean's like, all right. So we got Vernon and Charlie on the list. Anybody else? And Sam's like, we could always ask him. They turn around and Jay is gone. It's just ropes. And Dean's like, yeah, I guess we should have seen that one coming. Sam's like, come on, he can't have gotten that far. They leave the room to look for him. Meanwhile, Jay just went in the closet. He didn't even just search the room.
I loved how they filmed that because when they're talking, they kind of zoom right in on their faces, don't they? And the camera kind of spins around them, and then
it does a 360 as they're having the conversation. It's very cool. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really liked how they filmed that scene.
It was really cool directing and camera work. Yeah. So then they're trying to figure out where the hell he's gone, and Sam's like, "There's no way he could outrun us." And Dean's like, "Maybe he vanished." I mean, he's really good. I can't. Dean's like, "I love magic."
He loves him now, yeah.
He's so into it. So Sam says, or he found a back door. And then they are walking into the lobby, and Jay comes up behind them with police, and Jay screams, "That's them! Those are the two nut jobs that broke into my room."
Yeah, and this was the most unrealistic part of the episode because that was a quick response time for the police.
They would never.
They literally ran down some stairs, and then the police were already there.
Yeah. It's silliness. There's no way.
Yeah, so then the police tell them to freeze, and then we don't really know what happens after that.
I'll tell you what though, like Jay's probably the only person to ever be like, I'm gonna call the cops on these guys and successfully do it.
Yeah. Okay, so then we cut to a bit later, and Jay is talking to Charlie in the dressing room about what Sam and Dean said, like that he's killing people with tarot cards. And Charlie says something like, "Real magic, they're nuts." And I thought this part was really good because this is where, again, I was thinking maybe Charlie was behind it, but then this scene convinced me that it wasn't him because of how innocent he was acting.
Yeah.
And then when Charlie like dies in quotation marks later, I suspected it was Vernon, but then it turns out it was Charlie after all. So I feel like the writing was actually pretty good in this episode with all the red herrings.
Yeah, there are loads of red herrings and plot
keeping
twists
us on our
things.
toes.
It really does keep you guessing. This episode's very well done.
Yeah.
We're friends this episode, Sarah Gamble. So they're just talking about how he's saying that there's the escapes, and he hasn't been able to slip a pair of cuffs in 30 years. And then there was the way that Patrick Vance died, and also Jeb Dexter.
Oh, yes. So Jay is starting to become suspicious himself because he doesn't know how he got out of the two. Like,
this is where we as an audience find out that he doesn't know how the tricks are working.
Yeah.
Which is
so
also
then we're like,
big,
it must be Charlie. And then it's like, oh, no, maybe it's not Charlie.
Yeah.
So Jay tells Charlie that he had intended to kill himself when he did the Table of Death, and he has no idea how he got out alive, and that was pretty dark. And I had a side note here saying, I really like Jay's hair. I think it suits him. Epic. Yeah, it's kind of like an Elvis quiff, but not, and it's kind of like got a parting in the middle. It kind of goes two ways. Yeah. And I thought it suited him.
It does. I agree.
And then so Charlie and Jay have a bit of a best friend heart to heart here, and that was really sweet.
Yeah. Charlie says that when he was in his day, as in when Jay was in his day, he was incredible. The incredible Jay. You were the best I ever saw, and now you got it back. I don't know how, but it doesn't matter. Just to see you at the top of your game again. Hell, it makes me feel young. Which is really like such a villainous line when you know the plot twist. Yeah. You're like, oh, really? So Charlie keeps saying that it's like manna from heaven, and whatever it is or however it works, you don't throw it away. Okay, so we cut to the theater and the stage, and Jay's lying on top of the table of death. Charlie lights the rope holding this plate of swords up, and Charlie goes backstage to Vernon. Jay stands up unharmed from doing the trick. So it's the same thing that we see before, where we have like the curtain drop, see the swords drop down. He's clearly stabbed to death, but then suddenly he isn't, and he comes out of the curtain and takes a bow, basically. But then off stage, a woman screams, "Oh my God, somebody call 911." And Jay's like, "What's going on?" So he goes backstage to investigate what's happening, and he finds Charlie covered in stab wounds.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
This is all still part of the big red herring, because you're like, oh, well, it definitely wasn't him then.
Yeah, you're like, he did. He can't have done it.
So then Sam and Dean then go to meet Jay, and they say, "Thanks for dropping the charges, but why did you do it?" And Jay says they need to talk, and we cut to a bar. So he's got them out of prison. So, when I said earlier I didn't know what happened to them, they did get arrested then.
Yeah, they got arrested. They went to jail, and then he was like, "Actually, I'm dropping the charges because obviously people are dying, and you're right, something's going on."
Yeah.
So Jay explains to them that he was a kid when he first met Charlie, and all he knew how to do was cheat at cards, and Charlie got him out of more scrapes than he can count, and that he would have been dead by the age of 20 if it hadn't have been for him. He says he was more than my friend. He was my brother. And Sam and Dean kind of give each other a significant look. And Sam says, "I'm sorry, Jay." And Jay says, "Look, I should have listened to you guys when you told me that my show was killing people." So, similarly, what I think is kind of wild is the risks that magicians take to provide us with really a sense of wonder and magic in the world. When you think about the crowds of people who would go to see Houdini, and how even after so long, he's still so famous. Everyone still knows who Houdini is.
Yeah.
His name is really synonymous with magic and with different tricks. People will go in the thousands to see a really good magician, because I think at heart, we all want to believe in something larger than ourselves. We all want to believe that magic is real, or we want to have our minds blown. But the truth is that, like, people will go to extremes and take extreme risks in order to provide us with this. So I have a list of examples of real magicians who died performing their art, because I feel like that goes very well with this episode. So that was the best Easter egg that I could come up with. And then I also have some female magicians, which I'm going to follow up with, because the first one's a bit of a downer, and then the last one sort of takes us back up and into the mood of the show. So, the first one is a man named William Ellsworth Robinson. He performed in yellowface, which is highly problematic, but was pretty common during the kind of Vaudeville era. I can't say that. Vaudeville era.
Yeah.
So it's in 1918. He died after being shot on stage during his signature bullet catching trick. So a bullet catching trick was one of the most common kind of popular feats that people would do. And basically, there would be a blank, and he would be holding a round somewhere on his person, which he would produce to say that he'd caught the bullet. And so what was supposed to be fired at him was blanks, but then there were real rounds in the gun, because you obviously have to show people that it's not fake, right? In some way.
Yeah.
So the idea is he catches the bullet, and then to prove that they're real bullets and that they're shooting real rounds, he shoots something else to demonstrate. So you have the blank, and then behind it, the real bullets. And what had happened was, apparently him and his assistants were a little bit lazy, off their game. I don't know what. And basically didn't clean the gun properly. And so gunpowder just kept continually building up and continually building up until this night, when it went off and ignited the real round, which was behind the fake round. And he was shot on stage.
Yeah, you need to clean your guns.
Clean your guns, people. So.
Or don't have them in the first place.
Yeah.
That's bad though. So like being shot when you think you're just doing a trick with blanks. Although I have to say, blanks, if you shoot someone close enough with a blank, that's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
And he's got to catch it.
Yeah.
That sounds difficult to do anyway.
I mean, a lot of these tricks require so much precision to carry out safely.
Yeah.
It's effectively stunt work when you really think about it, because you're putting your life in danger to do a lot of these. Like, some of them are just pure illusion and there's no danger anywhere, but for the bigger tricks with the bigger names, it's higher and higher and higher stakes, and so they are a lot more dangerous.
More like stunts, yeah.
Yeah. So then there is Joseph Burris. He was an American illusionist, and I remember this because I remember the news coverage of this, and it was really sad. He was buried alive for a trick in 1990. He was later pronounced dead at the scene after workers were unable to revive him. So basically, he was underground slightly longer than he was supposed to be. They didn't excavate him as fast as maybe would have been ideal, and then they were unable to revive him.
That's really horrible.
Yep.
That's not a nice way to go.
Nope. Chanchal Lahiri was an Indian magician. He drowned in a river in Calcutta in 2019 while attempting a variant of Houdini's underwater escape trick.
Yep. Yeah, underwater.
He was unable to get out of the bindings. And he'd done the trick successfully many times before. Nobody, I don't think, really knows what went wrong this time, but there are so many factors involved in underwater escape tricks.
Yeah.
And it's just whether it's luck or a failure on the part of what he was wearing, or if there was a sudden current that nobody expected. I don't think we'll ever know. Then you have Benjamin Rucker. While performing in 1934, the famous escape artist collapsed on stage from a heart attack. So he was, from memory, he was an older guy and he wasn't supposed to be performing tricks anymore, but he didn't want to hang up his cape, so to speak.
That's a bit like the magicians in this episode.
It's very relevant. The doctors were like, you really shouldn't be working anymore. This is too much strain on you. This is dangerous. And he just wanted to keep doing what he loved, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so he passed away doing what he loved. Then we have Carr the magician, whose real name was Charles Rowan. In 1930, Rowan died after being struck by a car while performing a stunt that involved escaping from a straitjacket while the vehicle drove towards him. Unfortunately, the trick went awry and he was hit by the car instead, and one of his legs was severed on impact.
Oh, that's not nice either.
Nope.
Or for the driver of the car.
Nope. That's going to be traumatized for life.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Vivian Hensley was an amateur magician. He was very good. He was sort of starting out. He died in 1938. He was a 43-year-old dentist, and he died because of an accident. So while trying to perform his trick that he'd invented of swallowing the rusty razor blade, in all of his other acts, it's a pretense. You just pretend to do it. In this case, he accidentally dropped it and actually did swallow it, and unfortunately did not survive.
Yeah, these are dangerous things to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about these different magicians, I would really recommend checking out my show notes. There's more in there that I haven't covered, and probably a little bit more detail in some of the links as well. So if this is something that interests you personally, go ahead and check that out.
Yeah. It's pretty dark.
Dark history is dark. Okay, so to take
horror
us...
and horror.
It does put the horror and horror. To take us back to a better note, a lighter note, a happier note, I was like, what about women in magic? Because women exist. I bet there were really cool women magicians.
Yeah, you don't see very many, do you?
No, you don't. So I was like, well, who was the first female illusionist? And the search came back saying that there wasn't really a single first female illusionist, and also that the reason why you don't see very many until later on is because women were accused of witchcraft a lot and then killed. So
it's okay for men to do magic, but
yeah, it's okay for men to do magic, but if girls do magic, we die. So understandably, slower to start, slower to get back in. But there are examples from the late 19th century and early 20th century, which is when women start kind of breaking into the art form and actually pioneering it. So some names from that era are Adelaide Herrmann, Lulu Hurst, and Iona, who is actually Clementine de Vere, if you guys want to look any of these people up. And they were very, very talented. So Lulu Hurst was known as the Georgia Wonder. She was born in 1869, and she was famous for demonstrations of immense physical strength in the late 1800s. Her act often involved, this is my favorite part, men trying to hold her in place while she moved a chair with ease. But what they mean by that is she would have men stacked up on a chair, and then she would just move it around like she was ridiculously strong. I don't know how this trick worked, but I saw photos of it when I was researching it, and it's epic. She has all these dudes really uncomfortably piled up, sitting on each other's laps, more or less, like acrobatically. So there'll be like 3 or 4 men on a chair, and you just see her moving it like they're like a feather. It's very, very cool.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Then you have Clementine de Vere. She performed under the name of Ionia in the early 1900s and started her act in 1910. Her father was a magic trick manufacturer and created spectacular large-scale illusion shows for her, which featured elaborate costumes and many assistants. Her show actually toured Europe and is now considered iconic of the golden age of magic.
Yeah, well, that's handy. Her dad was involved in all of that.
It just sounds cute. It sounds like they had a really good father-daughter relationship, and she loved the stuff that, like, she must have been interested in his work. And then he was like, "Oh, you want something, my precious baby angel? I shall build you the best of everything." And there's, I think it's Adelaide Herrmann that I'm going to read to you some of the illusions that she did. And if you think about what's on that list, I am assuming that Clementine had basically all of that, and maybe with a bit more panache because her father would have been making everything for her. So that's going to come up in a minute. So just like hold that in your head, and then you'll get a good visual description of what kinds of things you could expect to see in that era. So I just want to bring up a couple more modern as well. So Kristen Johnson, who is also known as the Lady Houdini, is a fearless flirt with death. She can take ordinary escape magic and make it her own. In 2012, Lady Houdini successfully performed her 1001st public escape during the Georgia State Fair, actually breaking Houdini's record.
Yeah, that's loads of times.
Currently, she's over 2,743 attempts and counting. Out of these nearly 3,000 attempts, she has only been denied escape 3 times. So she only had to have help 3 times. She is like a really skilled escapologist, and her shows are absolute nail biters that will leave you on the edge of your seat.
Did you say it was 1,001 times that she did it?
Yes.
So I wonder what Houdini's was. I like to think that his was 1,000, and then she was just like, "I'm going to do one more."
Yeah.
Just so I can say I've got the record.
Yeah. So Dorothy Dietrich was one of the best known female magicians in the world. Dietrich paved the way for future female magicians, and she is often dubbed the First Lady of Magic, and is known for her Houdini-like acts. She is the first woman to escape from a straitjacket while suspended from a burning rope in the air.
Whoa.
Yeah. She also successfully performed an act that even Houdini himself backed away from. It's called the Jinxed Bullet Catch. As a result, Dietrich is the first woman to catch a bullet in her mouth, an act that must have been absolutely stunning to witness. She appeared in various television acts and often was involved in the world's only continually traveling Houdini exhibit. I remember reading about this, and I think she's the one who, like, basically 6 people shot at her at the same time while she did that trick, which is just cool. It's just badass. Yeah. So then we're coming full circle now back to Adelaide Herrmann. So she was billed as the Queen of Magic. She caught bullets with her bare hands and levitated off the ground. At 22, she found work as a magician's assistant, and this man would become her future husband. They fell in love.
Meet cute.
It is a meet cute because it didn't happen immediately. Like, it was a slower burning romance. She ended up helping him with his act and actually invented her own illusions. Herrmann had no chance of performing Adelaide's illusions because they were very delicate and you needed to be really dexterous to do it. So she ended up saving them for her own use. 20 years later, Herrmann suddenly passed away and Adelaide took over the act. Finally taking her place in the limelight, Adelaide wowed audiences with the unbelievable illusion she conjured decades earlier. Her shows drew thousands, each as amazed as the last. Adelaide continued performing into her 70s until her death in 1932 at the age of 79. Her act involved escape tricks, the bullet catch trick, and her illusions, during which she would levitate as a sleeper. So, like, someone lying completely flat and unconscious. She was a human cannonball, a bicycle rider who carried a girl on her shoulders. She was a dancer who spectrally swirled in red silk like a pillar of fire. So she was both the first and one of the very few women to do the bullet catching trick successfully. And Adelaide, being Adelaide, she did it above and beyond. So she actually caught 6 bullets in front of a firing squad at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City. Yeah. Her favorite illusion was the Phantom Bride, which had themes of loss and marriage. Through hypnotism, she made a bride's body draped in white rise on a brightly lit stage. She passed a hoop over her hovering form, showing that there were no wires, and then pulled away the white silk. The bride was gone. In the witch illusion, she stumbled onto the stage dressed as an old woman, trying to reach a fire burning in the darkness. When she finally arrived at the pyre, she dove into the flames. Unlike her older cremation act, where she returned as a taunting ghost, she now emerged reborn and youthful.
That kind of links with the episode as well.
It does, yeah. It's really cool, isn't it? So yeah, I'm gonna end it there. There's more in my show notes. All the links to all of the original writers of all these articles are in there. I kind of mashed up Wikipedia with some other magic site articles, so I would recommend going through and reading like the full articles if you found this interesting, because there's loads more in there, and you can also see who wrote everything. Yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was really fascinating. Once I started digging into the female magicians, I kind of like wanted to keep going because it was really, really interesting and they were so badass.
They all sound like they're really strong as well. Like they have to do like holding a whole load of men up in the air on a chair.
Yeah. I love it so much.
Yeah. So during this conversation that they're having with Jay, Sam and Dean decide it must be Vernon that's murdering people, because they theorize that it's got to be somebody close to him because it's clearly someone that cares about him. But Jay doesn't think it can be Vernon, but then he kind of agrees towards the end. And then we cut to Vernon, who's in his hotel room watching TV, and the phone rings. And he picks it up and says he'll be there as he needs to tell him something anyway, and he leaves. So this was Jay calling him to get him out of the room, so then Sam and Dean can break in and have a little snoop around. So we then cut to Jay standing on a stage, and Vernon approaches and he tells Jay that he's talked to the head of the convention and the headliner gig is his, because obviously Jeb is dead now.
Yeah.
And Jay just shakes his head and Vernon's like, you don't want it? And Jay says he can't do it, and then accuses Vernon of killing Charlie, Jeb, and Vance.
Yeah. And it's actually a really good misdirect because Vernon's lines were like, Charlie would have wanted you to go on. This is your shot. It's our shot.
Yeah.
So it's a really good misdirect. It's like it's sleight of hand, but with characters.
So Jay is accusing Vernon, and then we hear a voice from behind saying, don't be so hard on him, as he didn't do it. And then a much younger man walks on the stage. And this is when we then cut back to Sam and Dean in Vernon's hotel room. They've broken in, but they haven't found anything incriminating. And then Dean picks up an old poster and says, I'll be damned. And he holds it up to Sam and asks him if it looks like anyone they know.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is we can see as an audience that it's the mirror image of this younger guy that we're seeing here. And because they both have the same port stain birthmark on their head, you can easily identify who it is. So my fun fact for you is if you check my show notes, there is a real magician whose poster this is based on, and I'm pretty sure they just basically like changed the face. So I have that included, and you guys can go and compare and see if you agree with me and you think that that's the poster that was used in this part of the episode.
Cool. So then we cut back to the theatre where Vernon and Jay are staring at the young man in shock, and Jay says, "Charlie," and we get a blackout. And, I had a fun fact.
Yeah.
The actors who play old Charlie and young Charlie, they are actually father and son in real life.
That's awesome. That's like its own magic trick, because then you're actually like, it's like you're de-aging him.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cool. I love that. That's my favorite fun fact ever. So Charlie says, "It's really me, Jay." And Vernon says, "How the hell?" And Charlie says, "God, you forget what it feels like to be young. It's amazing." Jay says, "How old are you?" And Charlie says, "Oh, it depends on what you mean by old. Right now, technically about 28, but I've been around a lot longer than that." And Jay's like, "How long?" And Charlie says, "Long enough to have shilled for Barnum. And he gave me something." And
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Jay's like, "What's that?" Charlie says, "The Grimoire, a book of real magic. At first I thought it was a scam, but then I tried one of the spells and it worked. In fact, they all worked. So when I got to the end and there was one for immortality, Vernon says, 'Oh my God, Charlie.' And Jay, and my show, The Things That I Can Do, Charlie says, 'Different spell, but it gives you a little taste of what's possible.' And he pulls out a deck of tarot cards and he says, 'Oh no, I wouldn't touch those, Vernon. They're still radioactive.' And Jay says, 'You killed Vance and Jeb Dexter.' And Charlie says, 'What, you think this is a parlor game? You are being humiliated by those punks, a washed up old man who couldn't even defend himself.' And Jay says, 'You used me to do these terrible things.' And Charlie says, 'I used them to give you a gift, and you wanted it, Jay. I saw it in your eyes.' And Jay says, 'No, I never wanted this.' Charlie says, 'You were ready to kill yourself. I saved your life.' And Vernon shook, as you would be. He says, 'Is that right, Jay?' Charlie says, 'I was there for you, like I've always been, like I'll always be. Come with me, both of you. You think the first time around was good? The second time's even better. And the know-how? None of the aches and pains.' Jay says, 'No, I won't do this. I won't.' Charlie says, 'I've never made this offer before, but then again, I've never had friends like the two of you before. Let me do this for you.' Jay says, 'And who else has to die so we can live forever? What's the price tag on immortality? This isn't right, Charlie. What you're doing, you know that. Somewhere, you know that.' Charlie says, 'I know I don't want to come back alone. Start all over alone.' And Vernon says, 'Jay, we can be young again.'
Yeah, Vernon's totally up for it.
Vernon's like, 'Yes, this is
He's
a
like,
great
kill people.
idea. Why didn't you bring this up sooner?'
Also, I just thought it was interesting, just to go back a little bit, is Charlie must be like over 100 years old because he name drops P.T. Barnum, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked up when Barnum died, and it was in 1891, and he was 80. So, like, he's been around a long time.
A long time.
And also, can Charlie like switch between being young and old then? Because he was older and now he's earlier in the episode, now he's young.
Okay, so my assumption is that what he's doing is a more complicated version of death transference. So instead of experiencing his death, he's transferring it to other people so that he continues to live and also rejuvenates.
Oh, okay. So he does age still, but then he can get young again.
He can age like a normal person, but he has the option to opt out of old age and start
that
over
makes
again.
sense. Because they've also, the three of them have been friends for quite a long time, so presumably he's aged with them for a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I always overthink things, and then you always have answers usually.
So Charlie says, "The three of us together forever, vital and alive." And Dean says, "Not so fast. I ain't Gutenberg, and this ain't Cocoon. Immortality? That's a neat trick." That was That was really funny. And Charlie says it's not a trick, it's magic. And then a noose appears behind Dean, drops down around his neck, and lifts him. Sam shoots Charlie. Charlie catches the bullet in his teeth because bullet catching, my guy. Like we were just talking about bullet catching. So Charlie says, hey, bullet catch. Been working on that. Dean says, get him. Sam says, let him go now.
That was hot.
Yep. Whenever Sam screams now at anyone and it's threatening, that's always a thirst trap.
Yeah, and he's trying to protect people. He's trying to protect Dean here.
Yeah. Charlie says, just leave me and my friends alone, all right? I will give it up. The spells, the hexes, this is the last time, I promise. He pushes Sam onto a sword table, and then he clutches his stomach where he's now bleeding, and he says, Jay, you picked these strangers over me? And we realize that what's happened is Jay must have somehow, got one of the cards, because he stabbed himself, but he's not bleeding. It's transferred to Charlie, and Charlie's now dying. And Sam says, you okay? To Dean, and Dean says, yeah, I'm all right, because they were also about to die.
Yeah. So when Charlie falls to his knees, Jay pulls the tarot card out of his pocket, and it's the magician card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which doesn't really fit with what we've been saying they've been using them for before, but it's kind of poetic because it's the magician.
Yeah. Also, the magician...
He does have a sword, but...
Yeah. The shadowier side of the magician can be about arrogance, hubris,
and trickery.
Being kind of toxic, being kind of tricky. So I feel like it does still jive. And also in this instance, he alchemized something that was being used for bad into something good, because he effectively stopped a killer.
Yeah. So it fits the meaning this time, whereas the other two, they were just literal pictures that they've used.
They were just images, yeah. It was still cool though. I could still get behind it. It's just not as on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam and Dean literally nearly died for real.
Again.
They would have if Jay hadn't saved them.
Yeah, 100%.
But he did have to kill his friend, so that's sad.
It's extremely sad. And that's literally the next scene.
Yeah. So the next day, they're in a bar, and Jay is sitting at a table drinking and playing with a deck of cards, and Sam and Dean walk in, and they thank him for what he did yesterday. And he's like, what, for killing my friend? And then he says Vernon left and doesn't want to speak to him ever again. And Dean tries to make him feel better, telling him he did the right thing. But Jay is sad because he killed his friend, and now he's old and alone. Poor Jay. And then he leaves the bar.
You just made me think of Peter Pan. Old, alone, done for.
I hope he's okay. I'm worried about Jay.
Yeah, I'd like to think that he turns it around and he's okay.
Mm.
Or maybe even that there was one more trick up their sleeves and Charlie somehow comes back from the dead or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Charlie's not the greatest person, but he's also not the worst person. All the people he killed were actual assholes. So. Yeah.
So Dean says they should have a beer, but Sam decides that he wants to go for a walk. And by walk, he means go and see movies.
Liar! Your lies. Come out of your lying mouth, Sam.
Yeah, and basically he doesn't want to be an old man hunter, is what he tells her.
Yeah. So, it's I know we just summed it up and it sounded really funny, but it's actually pretty profound, because when she says, what changed your mind? He says, I don't want to be doing this when I'm an old man. Yeah. But it cuts so deep because of everything we just saw. It really hits. And that's obviously the end of the episode. So it ends on quite a it's a good note. It is kind of a cliffhanger, but obviously it's not a super dramatic cliffhanger. It's more emotional, but we know that action is soon to follow, because we know he's about to do something bad. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Should we go into games straight away?
Yes.
So villain hot or not?
Young Charlie was quite hot. Yeah. Hot villain. Oh my god, she's on the same page as me for once in her life.
It's not my fault there's not usually any hot villains.
Honestly, Laura, I cannot.
What did you give the episode as a scare rating?
Like a 4 or 5?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 because it's not really scary. I mean, I don't really like seeing people hanging, and there's quite a lot of that.
Yeah.
And there's some gore, but there's not lots of gore. So
Yeah, it's
4.
more like alluded to than shown to us for the most part in this episode. And you have the happy little murder rope, which I can't take seriously. So, like,
and then the rest of it's just sad.
Dark, yeah, there's dark themes, but it's more sad and depressing than it is like gore, violence in your face, like a horror movie tearing you apart kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And your favourite quotes, do you remember what you said earlier?
Nope. No idea. They were good though. They were my favorites.
Just refer back to the earlier in the episode. Yeah. Mine were when Chief says, "You're really going to get it tonight, big boy." And I liked the evil bitches just keep piling out of the Volkswagen just for the visual.
That was really funny. Yeah.
Oh, and then I liked it when Dean said, "I guess we should have seen that one coming," and it's where he eye rolls himself.
That was my second one. I remember that much. I remember that was my second one. I don't remember what my number one was, but I do remember that was my second one because it's so funny. It's like right when he gave Sam so much shit for losing him, and Sam's like, "He's a magician."
Yeah,
which is up there for me too. He's a magician. So fucking funny.
Thirst trap.
Sam in the tie going to get the door. That's the ultimate thirst trap, easily.
Mine sounds well, but it's him demanding young Charlie to let Dean go.
Yeah, that's hot.
MVP, I put Jay.
Yeah,
because
actually.
he saves them. Sam and Dean would have literally have died.
Yeah, they were fucked. They were going to be dead.
They would not have got out of that themselves. They were not very good at
winning. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, they can't fight the magics. They're like Superman.
Yeah, so it's Jay for me.
Yep, agreed.
And then the motel rating. I don't really remember a lot about the motel, but I remember thinking that it was, it was okay. It was standard. It was looked clean, so 3.
She only likes it if it has a like burning your eyeballs out level of theme to it. I really liked it.
I want a theme
because it alluded to a magic trick. So you know how there's like the rings that make shapes and they go in and out of each other. In their hotel, if you look at the chain wall pattern thing that they always have in every episode, it was like an allusion to that, where it was like an optical illusion where sometimes it would look like it was a flower pattern and then other times it would look like different circles. So depending on how you looked at it, it was kind of like one of those magic eye puzzles. And I was like, that's cool. That's smart. And then the rest of the decoration in the hotel I thought looked really nice. So I would have stayed there and I would have given it 5 stars.
Okay. So you always notice the subtle themes. I need a theme to like slap me in the face.
You do. You need violence from your themes. Or you need it to like confuse you, like before you were like, why do they look like bird feeders?
Yeah, that needs to be unusual or a really obvious theme.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm like, looks right.
I'm never getting over the like Saturday Night Fever one or the bowling one.
What about the fishing one? I liked that.
That was wild. The beer one, where the theme was like beer and it was beer bottles on the wall.
The theme was beer. What the one you hated was the one with all the like cow skulls on, wasn't it? The cowboy one.
The bad cowboy one. Yeah, that was the worst for me. That was like emotional torture. Nope. No.
Well.
Yeah. So that was the episode. I don't know about you, but I loved it because we said it at the beginning. I love magic. I think it's fascinating.
Me too.
I truly appreciate all the magicians in the world and illusionists and mentalists who make us see things that are fantastic and beyond belief and kind of restore our imagination and our ability to have that kind of childlike wonder as adults. Thank you so much. And I guess, kind of dedicate this episode to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, magicians.
Thank you, magicians. Don't die.
Or kill people.
Don't die or kill people. It's our closing message. Stay alive. Don't do crimes.
So yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.